Hey everybody, tonight we're breaking down my list pairings for an upcoming one-day WTC style event. DHD and his horribleness talk about some of the games they got in over the past couple of weeks and what we're enjoying about our adventures into this brand new hobby. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy some of our intro music while we get set to bring you another episode of Minis on Fire. All right, we're back here, everybody. I'm your host, Randy, and with me tonight, of course, because they have to talk about their game, is John and Bill. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think probably.
Kneel before tremendous.
I think I'm just gonna call you Bill on this, and then everybody else can call you Tremendous if they shall choose.
Well, when I'm on stage, that is my stage name, so I think it works out.
Where exactly are you on stage ever?
Life.
Oh my god. All right, well, there we go. And there we have it. Life. He is tremendous. So,
I like that.
I like that a lot. So guys, I signed up for my first ever tournament in War Machine this upcoming weekend, and I'm not going to lie, it was a little daunting, to say the least, signing up for the event, because I am crossing over from a game, and the learning curve is pretty... Would you say it's pretty steep, Bill, coming from Fantasy to War Machine? Would you say there's definitely a learning curve?
Yes, definitely a mega steep learning curve. This game is nothing like that game we used to play, and that makes it really fun, mainly because of that.
Yeah, I agree. And so we're doing a WTC event, and I know what an ETC style event is in Fantasy, but the WTC is totally different. And if you've never gone to a tournament at all, for War Machine or for anything at that matter, it can be a little bit intimidating to sign up for it and try to figure it out. And the reasons I was a little hesitant to sign up for the team event, I'm very new and I'm not very good at War Machine right now. And I didn't want to sign up into a team event and bring my whole team down. But I was waiting for this podcast so that, John, you could talk to me about, for this event, I had to make two 50-point lists. How do they do the pairings and such for like these tournaments?
Well, it depends, but generally speaking, the pairings are completely random to begin with, and then it just kind of proceeds in a Swiss style. So, I don't know how it's going to work out with the team tournament thing. I guess your teams will be in different pools, and then you'll be paired randomly with your opponents from different teams, or they could have team on team. Not exactly sure. I didn't look over the WTC packet because I, don't care. But in steamroller tournaments, the pairings are random initially, and then you proceed in a normal style with winners versus winners, and so on and so forth.
So if this was just a regular steamroller event, how did those usually work out with? So I had to make two lists, but how do you choose which list you're going to play? Because like the way I understand it is you hand your opponent your two lists, they hand you a sheet with their two lists on it. But how do you know what they're going to play? Do you have to basically pick at the same time? I'm playing this and you're playing that. Like, how does that work?
So you show your opponent your sheet of paper that has your two lists on it, and you guys both look over your lists, and then after you've looked over it, you decide what you're going to drop. So what caster you're going to drop, basically. And then you will both simultaneously reveal your list, and generally this is done by, you pick what list you're going to pick by choosing the card of your warcaster, and then you just both drop it on the table at the same time.
Okay, so there's no like, oh, I grabbed the wrong caster. Like, so if somebody goes to do that, you're like, well, I guess that's who you're playing. Sorry, man.
Exactly. If you grab the wrong caster, you're stuck with it because otherwise, I mean, there's no way to say that you're not doubling back on your decision after you see what they reveal. So you're stuck with whatever you choose.
What about now? How now? I was trying to read, and there's like a lockout thing. How do you get locked out of a caster in a tournament?
Okay, so generally how this works is that a lot of tournaments have what's called divide and conquer, and there will be a number in brackets. So divide and conquer means that you have to play each list X number of times, whatever the number of brackets is. So say you're in a 3-round tournament and it's divide and conquer 1, you have to play each list once. Well, if you play list A twice, then you're locked into list B for round 3.
Okay, and does your opponent know you're list locked, or I mean, will they like? So when you're deciding like what list to play against somebody, and they hand you a sheet, is there a way to know that they're list locked then in game 3?
Not necessarily, but depending on the tournament, you will probably be aware that your opponent is list locked. There's no actual protocol on whether this is open information or not, but common courtesy says that it probably is open information.
So, everything in War Machine, what I understand by the rules, like when we played 2 weeks ago when we were all together, and I said, can I see your card, and you just hand it over. It's the same thing with the list. So if Bill and I were playing in round 1 of a tournament or round 3 of a tournament of a one day, and we were somehow made it to the finals, which would never in the world happen, at least for me. And I said, hey, are you locked into any list? He, for sports reasons, would have to tell me, or to some guys, is that frowned upon?
Actually, this is one of the things that I'm not really certain on the answer of. I would say that it's probably open information, so that he would have to tell you. But I'm not 100% on that. I don't really know. I think common courtesy would say so, but then I'm not aware of any rule that says he has to tell you whether he's list locked or not.
Okay, well that makes sense. I mean, I don't really know, and so it's just like I said, it's so new this whole process. So I'm going to tell you guys what I'm taking to this, because if we don't get enough people for the team event, it's going to turn into a steamroller. Anyway, so I have my Menoth list, and I feel like a real Menoth player now because I have a Reckoner and a Redeemer now. I went and bought them.
Oh shit! Moving up in the
Sell
world.
out.
I am. Just call me Tiny Tim because I am straight up on crutches, yo. So I'm laughing at my own jokes and nobody else does. This is so bad. In my head, it was a funny punchline though. I'm not gonna lie. So I am bringing Krios 1 and Harvey. That's my 2 pairings.
Okay.
And for my Harvey list, I am going to bring the Harbinger, a Hierophant, a Reckoner, and a Redeemer. The Avatar of Menoth, which is not in her battle group. It's, for those of you that don't know Menoth at all or are brand new to the game, people that are very experienced, if you're listening to us, you're probably like, these fucking guys. Oh my god. But the Avatar is its own separate thing. He generates his own focus. I have an Exemplar Errant Seneschal. I have a High Paladin Darton Vilmon, 2 Paladins of the Wall, a Vassal Mechanic, Rupert, the Covenant of Menoth, 3 Racks, a Choir, my Exemplar Errants, leader in 9 of them, and the UA with them. So, what do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
Did you say whether you were playing tier or not?
I'm not playing tier.
Okay.
Because the Exemplar Errants are not in tier, and I can't buy enough Paladins to make it like Paladin spam, which is what I really want to do.
Yeah, I think that tier's pretty powerful. But I mean, it sounds legit. Generally, one of the biggest strengths of the Harbinger is her ability to keep the power solos alive through martyrdom.
That's what I was thinking. But again, this list, for anybody else listening, this is basically everything I kind of own at this point. I had to kind of go out and I bought the Reckoner Redeemer because I was like, I can't play with the pedal box jacks forever. I need to put on my big boy pants. So the purpose of this list, I think I want to drop it against infantry heavy type of lists, and I'm going to play more for scenario with this caster is what I think. I haven't actually played a single game with the Harbinger yet, but I'm just reading it and trying to figure it out. That's kind of my game plan. Am I on the right track with this thing, John, or am I kind of way off?
Well, I mean, really, when you're just playing with what you own, it's hard to design, I guess optimal or however you want to put it lists, because you're kind of stuck with what you've got, and especially in a tournament where you're playing two lists and you're character restricted, you can't take the same characters in both lists. So you can't have development in both lists or, whatever. So that limits you even more because you still got to make 50 points and blah, blah, blah. But generally speaking, when you're trying to make a tournament list and you're playing for objective play, you need to look at the objectives. So say, like Incursion, which has 3 flags, or now I forget the mission that has, what the technical name is. Recon? No, it's not Recon. Whatever. But it has the 2 circular zones. You've got to think, is my army capable of, holding a zone and contesting another one? If I split my force, because you're going to have to, am I capable of doing that? And so, these are the kinds of things that you have to take into mind. And you also need to consider what your objectives are, because those are part of your army list as well.
So if you were playing my list, is there anything that you'd be like, no, I can't, I just couldn't do it, or?
It depends. It would depend on what faction I'm playing. So against the Harbinger, you have your heavy jacks and whatnot, but you don't have devouts, so there's no shield guard to protect her from big ranged attacks. And that can be problematic with Harby because she's on a large base. So if you have that many points invested into heavy jacks, you're expecting them to do some serious work, but you also need to keep them around her so that people can't draw a line of sight to her. Now, if you're playing something like, a straight up, face Scorn list, it's not a problem because it doesn't have much ranged attacks, but it really depends on what your opponent's dropping. So if I was playing my Signar, I'd be like, Harby, oh, okay, Ekane's going to shoot her in the face 8 times, and whatever. That's pretty much going to be it. Also, if I know that you're planning on martyring your stuff a lot, I'll target your power solos with disproportionate amounts of attacks to force you to drain her life, which sets her up for an easy assassination later on in the game. Of course, you have the Hierophant to mitigate some of that, but, I guess what I'm trying to say is it really depends on what I've prepared, whether I would have a problem with dealing with the Harbinger or not.
All right, I can totally see that. I think in my mind when I built this whole little thing, I was thinking I was just going to kind of plod forward, toe into zones, kind of hold, control things, and shoot the bejesus out of people over top of and delay people long enough that I would win on just scenario points. Like, that's my whole goal here is attrition. Shoot the crap out of you and just attrition you down.
Yeah, and that's a legitimate tactic, but, I mean, there are other armies that can attrition just as well, and
sure.
I think you would have problems with things like Troll Bloods. But, that's what Weapon Masters are for, so there you go.
Yeah, true. No, true. So my second list is Krios 1, and I am going straight up assassination with this build. You'll be able to tell pretty quick. I'm running Krios with a Reckoner, a Redeemer, and a Vanquisher. I have a Vassal and a Vassal Mechanic. I'm bringing Nishia because I love the model, and I don't care if it's good or not. I love the model, so I had to figure out how to put her into a list, and I was like, this is the time and the place for her. I'm also running Iris, the Mage Hunter. Gorman's in this list. I have Rax. I have 9 Zealots and a Leader with the UA. I have a Choir. I have my Exemplar Errants and the UA again. And this is my pop my feet, kill you while you're down.
Yeah. So, that all sounds legitimate. I mean, that sounds like a fairly good Krios list. One thing that I would suggest is switching Nishia to the Harbinger list, because Martyrdom combined with Nishia can make that a hugely annoying solo for people to have to deal with.
You think so? But see, the problem is that I would have to take out a Paladin and then move a Paladin over to Krios' list.
Yeah, but I mean, Nishia, I think, would accomplish more in the Harbinger's list than she would in Krios' list.
Okay.
It's just my personal opinion. But...
No, that's why you kind of read these things off, because when you show other people, and I don't get a lot of playtime, I like a lot of people that probably listen to this podcast. I'm married. I can't play games every day. I would love to, but I get to play once a week. That's kind of what it's dedicated for. So trial and error is not the best thing that I get. So these tournaments, because I was listening to Chain Attack, and they said some people don't play a lot. Tournaments are the best time to try out a list, because you get to play, game with a list, and you really get to hone it. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, and, I would say that tournaments are the best time to get experience. If you're the type of person who doesn't care much when you lose, like if it doesn't get to you hardcore, then tournaments are a great time, because you will get more experience in a tournament than you will in casual games.
I could see that. I'm not going to say that I don't care when I lose, because sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I think it depends on who I'm playing and, how competitive I'm getting. And that brings me to our next subject, because you and I talked about this, Bill, when I was down visiting you all, and we had our Saturday game day. But the learning curve from from Fantasy to War Machine is crazy, right?
Yeah, it's a whole different mindset, a whole different tactic set. You don't just have, even in a tournament setting with Fantasy, you'd be at a tournament and there were always objectives or a mission or a scenario, and you could ignore it and attack your enemy and be good to go if you could get the points. But in War Machine Hordes, I mean, if you lose track of any of the scenario whatsoever, the kill box, the objectives, where your damn caster is, which I do religiously, you'll lose the game so fast your head will be spinning 3 days from the loss. And that actually occurs all the time. Killbox and me do not get along. I'm gonna make a marker or something, and every time there's a killbox scenario, I'm just gonna staple it to my chest so that the sting reminds me, oh yeah, I have to worry about killbox, because it's amazing how much more in depth this game is than Fantasy, and I love it. But at the same time, I get frustrated with myself because I feel I should be better than I am, because I'm an arrogant prick.
No, you definitely are. But when we were talking, you absolutely kicked my ass with your Trollbloods against my Menoth, because I'm an idiot. And the thing that I realized that I forget a ton coming into War Machine is upkeep spells and things that are going on. I forget the interaction, and that when I first started playing, one of the guys that lives by me that I play with once a week, when we play, he's like, your order of activation is the biggest thing, of how you do stuff. And I kind of shrugged it off when he said it. I was like, whatever, dude, come on, it's not that big of a freaking deal. And then you play and you're like, oh, I can't, I gotta, crap, I put this stupid shit in the way and I gotta move it, but I need it for you know what I'm saying? It was so infuriating when you make that mistake of blocking things in.
I make that mistake all the time. You are 100% correct.
Locking things in is it can be a huge problem, and man, just like I still have some habits left over from Mark 1 when, it was possible for your Warcaster to get killed on the first turn if you deployed him at the very front of your lines. And so I still have this habit of when I'm deploying, putting my Warcaster behind my heavies. And that's not really necessary anymore. You should generally have your Warcaster or your Warlock, standing on the front lines so that he can activate, throw up all of his spells and whatnot if he needs to in advance before anything else. Because you can always have your Warjacks just run to get in front of him. So, being aware of how you deploy is also an important part of not locking yourself in and jamming yourself on the first turn.
I can try to do that where I move things around, and I'm trying to get a feel for how things maneuver. But my other big thing, and so everybody that listens, when we play, and I know your group down where you live, Bill, and you guys are a little more strict than I am when I play with a couple of guys I play with up here, because I'm learning. So a lot of things are, can I move this? We do that a little bit when we play, but it's kind of like you forgot it. Well, dude, I mean, in a tournament, you're not gonna be able to take it back because we play more a tournament style when we play. Even though we kind of, I mean, I suck and it is what it is. But I have a habit of wanting to move, like do the order of operations from a previous game, and which is move, shoot, do magic, close combat. I want to do those type of things sometimes, and when I'm setting up my turn sequence, and it throws me for a loop. Do you guys ever do that with confuse another game for what you're doing?
Oh God, yes. I think I did that during our game. My thing right now is since I learned this game with Signar, now that I'm moving over to Troll Bloods, I forget that I don't just get my. It always happens the first turn. I usually don't forget after the first turn, but it just happened in my game against John yesterday. It was first turn. I had 3 trolls attached to Gunborn, and I ran them all forward, put 1 Fury on each of them, pissed away all the Fury on my Warlock, and completely realized as John's moving his models that I forgot to rile my guys up. There's no Fury on my damn Warcaster. And I'm like, oh, I did it again. And John's giggling at me like, well, you're going to learn one day. And we play that way, though, so that there is no... He's we're training, we're teaching and stuff like that, but at the same time, if you make a mistake, if you do something out of sequence, you do something wrong, you don't get to go back and redo it, because number one, I'm the uber rookie nerd and John is the Yoda. John doesn't get to do that kind of stuff. Why should I? So granted, I'm new, but I'm not going to learn that what I just did was really, really stupid if I don't have to pay for it. If the only thing stopping me from robbing a bank is I don't want to be attractive, and in jail I'm attractive. That would be bad. So I don't rob a bank. So if we're playing War Machine or Hordes and I forget to do something in sequence, like with my Fury management, for example, and John, who I have no doubt would have actually allowed me to put Fury on the trolls had I asked, I never would have, it won't stick. The next turn, I'd have been like, well, it's not a big deal because I can just do it out of sequence. And, down the road when I'm not playing against War Machine, Hordes, Yoda, John, and I'm playing against, well, I don't know, someone like Randy, gosh, or we're playing in a tournament and I'm like, well, it's not a big deal. I just forgot. So I'm going to rile him now that you're, 3 moves into your turn, and you're going to look at me and go, I'm going to shoot you in the face, and you're going to be right to do it. So that's why we play a little bit more rules as written, because the only way you're going to learn, at least in our group, is if you're punished for making bad decisions, which you should be.
Yeah, I actually, Randy, wanted to ask you, like, how hardcore are you guys doing this WTC tournament? Like, how are you, I guess, are you doing it casual style, or are you doing it like actual tournament prep?
I honestly don't know. I looked at the thing, and it's, your models have to be together. They don't have to be painted. He gave me there's 4 links to WTC stuff, and I'll be honest, I started reading one, and it was late, and I had an early day, and so I kind of put it down. and I learn better by just doing anyway than I could read all of it and, fine and dandy. And I will brush up, but until I see it, it's not going to make sense to me anyway. So it doesn't matter. So I think it's kind of in between casual and hardcore tournament because we never get to do these type of things. So I think they're trying to get a broad group of guys that'll want to come in and actually do this event because they're trying to get 30 guys. So it's teams of 4. So they're trying to get, 5 to 28, I guess. So 5 to 6 to 8 teams, I think.
Okay. I
that.
was just curious because, on the WTC website, one of the few things that I actually did look at is they have that, it's like a document on, like clean play and, like exactly how to define terrain with your opponent before the game starts and stuff like that. And one of the things that I see people do a lot that's a habit from, like games like, I guess 40K and fantasy where it doesn't matter so much is bending your tape measure when you move. Like this guy's running, so I'm going to bend my tape measure around this corner and he's going to run along that path. And, like, as they point out in the document, technically that's illegal because that's not how you move per the rule book. In War Machine, you move everything in straight lines.
See, I was wondering that because every time I watch a battle report online, right, where the camera's always running, I always see guys, they put down the little thing and they move like 2 inches and 2 inches. I'm like, why don't you just put the freaking tape measure and bend it? I'm actually, believe it or not, I actually thought that because I'm like, why don't you just put the tape measure around and just get to where you're going? And you explaining it now, I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and it's because exact measurement matters so much in War Machine, like exact distances, because there's no pre-measuring except for your control area and your melee range. There's no pre-measuring in War Machine at all, so exact distances matter quite a bit. If you're off by a centimeter, you might as well be off by a mile when you're checking range for weapons and stuff like that. So, and especially with objective play and zones and things like that, it can matter quite a bit. And so that's why you're always moving in straight lines, because this is the way they've outlined it in the rulebook. It has to do with your facing and things like that. So, that's just one of the things I would recommend getting into the habit of, is not bending your tape measure when you play, because it makes for much cleaner play, in addition to just, technically being the way that it's done. I mean, if you're just playing a casual game and you don't really give a fuck, whatever.
Right.
Don't stress over it. But if you're trying to, if you want to go to, big fancy tournaments and whatnot, then get in the habit of measuring everything in straight lines. And, God knows sometimes I've been the tape measure too, because I just get lazy, but I do try to do it in straight lines as much as possible because, for one, it makes me feel better because it just feels cleaner and that appeals to my OCD. And then, for the other thing, it's just people won't call you on it. So just get into the habit of doing it in the first place.
Okay. I mean, that that completely and utterly makes sense. I know that when I played Bill last weekend, and after you wrecked me with frickin' the Butcher, which, that was like gut-wrenching, horrible. I thought I was kicking your teeth in, and then I lost. But I was playing Bill, and he had me make a command check, and I felt like such an idiot because I rolled the dice and I rolled I think I rolled a 9, and I was like, okay, I'm good. And Bill was like, on a 9, you're good. And I held up my caster's card at him, like, yeah, I'm leadership 9, and I was I was thinking that as long as you're, again, I'm thinking fantasy type rules, as long as you're within my command range of the caster, that everybody gets her leader, and of course that's not how War Machine works, and so I felt like a total idiot because Bill just looked at me like I was retarded, which he does a lot, but it was even more so in that game, which just
Don't feel bad. I have resting bitch face. I don't think you're an idiot. I was just confused because I was like, their leadership 9? It's like, man, I picked the wrong army again. And then you were like, yeah, this is the card. And I looked at it, I was like, well, that's your warcaster. That's not the unit. And you were like, oh no. And I just like, it's not a big deal. But yeah, you took it harder than I did. I was just confused.
Well, I'm going to be totally honest, especially in learning a new game, but any game where this game is much better than previous games that I've played because one, the rules are as written, it is what it is, this is how it is. Where the game that we're coming from, there was interpretation to a lot of the rules, and depending on where you played or lived, the rule would be interpreted this way or that way. What packet are we playing? Are we playing a Masters pack? Are we playing this tournament? And everybody had their own little thing, right? And so when I make mistakes, I feel like I am cheating. Technically, I'm cheating. It's inadvertent, I promise you, but I hate the fact of looking like I'm cheating. Like even the implied impression that I'm cheating somebody, it just irks me. You know what I mean? Like I don't want people to think like, oh my God, here comes that fucking guy. Here comes the cheater. Oh God, this guy.
Yeah, don't be TFG. But just to let you know, you can use your Warcaster's command value.
What?
All Warcasters have the commander advantage.
Son of a bitch.
So you can totally do that. They are, it's just like fantasy, actually. They are your own general. So.
Well, here's the question. Do they have to, is it their control range or the command range that they get that?
Let's see. I'm on the page right now because I went and got my rulebook. So for those of you who care, it's on page 84. When making a command check for a unit, only one model in the unit must be in the command range of the model with the commander advantage in order for the unit to use that model's command. So it will be in your Warcaster's command range. So I think for Fiora, that's what, 8 or 9? I don't remember what she is.
Her command range is a 9.
Okay, so yeah.
She was way far away from that unit. She was not within 9 inches.
Yeah, I think that goes right. I think I was within the control range. I was within control, but not command.
Right. So we did it right still,
yes.
Just by accident now. Okay.
Yeah, so if you're listening to us now, for sure, if you're an experienced player, you're going, these fucking guys, what are they talking about? But see, this is the stuff we're talking about. These are the mistakes that we make that when we're playing, we're like, John, come here for a second, dude. Please, will you just come here? So we think this, and how many times I saw you playing a game against another Menoth player, and I don't remember what it was over. I was like, make a mental note of what they're talking about because the guy was explaining what's that?
Charging. They were talking about charging.
Yes, because it was the 3-inch thing, right?
Yeah, the 3-inch minimum distance to get the boosted damage roll on the charge.
And it was how he kind of like came across it. Bill, you were like, what the fuck is going on? It was like. We were
already fighting. We were already in combat, and all this guy did was charge because he had reach. He just charged 3 inches to the right, which kept him in the 2-inch reach, and got the charge bonus. I'm like, that's a thing? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
like
because
spinning in a circle really fast to get an advantage in a fight. I didn't get it.
Right, so it's like, it's one of those strange things in the rules that kind of makes sense in a real-life perspective, but not really, because, the damage roll is about momentum. That's why you have to move minimum 3 inches, right? Because you're building on momentum to hit harder. So, I mean, if you have a large base model or something like that, and they have reach, and, they turn to face a direction, you're in your... Step 1. Charge targets in line of sight. Check. It is. Step 2. You turn to face any direction that will take you into melee range of your, target. Check. Step 3. Move. Did you move 3 inches? Is it still in your melee range? Then successful charge, you get the boosted damage roll. I mean, that's breaking down the steps and paraphrasing quite a bit, but that's the basic part of it. It doesn't matter if you're already in combat, you can still charge.
Right. Okay. He was already in combat with the thing he charged. It just really threw me off.
Yeah, it definitely seems counterintuitive. I will admit to that. It definitely seems that way.
I wasn't ready for it, and I was positive he was like, dude, that can't be right. And you come up like, water's wet, the sky's blue, and that's a legal charge. And I'm like, but none of that makes any sense. John, me and you are in a fight, and I run around, and suddenly I have the momentum to take you out, and you're just watching me because you know what? That would work because you would look at me like, what is this guy doing? Whack! Oh, now I got to kill him. But yeah, that was unexpected.
Yeah, it's total mad kung fu style crazy stuff, just like crazy wind up kick or something like that.
I guess, like I said, it just didn't seem legit to me. But once you told me it was, it just took me a minute to assimilate the information. I was like, that can't be right. That doesn't make any sense. But it must be right. So screw it. We'll go with that. I had to shift my understanding real quick.
Yeah, because I mean, say I think I was talking to Randy about this back at our table after I went over there and told you that. Say you've got like a unit of 6 guys with reach that are kind of spread out. 3 guys are already engaging their targets, and then the other 3 guys are behind and they're not engaging. Say they're like 3.5 inches away. And so the unit gets the charge order so that the guys who are behind can charge forward and now engage the unit. So there's no question that they're getting the charge bonus, right? Or they're getting they're charging, right? There's no question about it. But the guys who are in combat already, say they're base to base for this example, with their opponents, even though they're moving 0 inches, they're still charging. They just won't get the bonus. So, if you're in combat, even if you can still give it a charge order, and it's still technically charging. The only thing that matters is whether it moves the 3 inches to get the damage bonus or not.
No, I get the rule. It seems janky that if you're already in combat with a model, just because you can move, you give the charge order to the rest of the unit, and it moves 3 inches with the model it's already in melee with, it just seems janky to me that it would get the charge bonus. Basically a free boosted attack, and it didn't seem right to me. I understand it's the rules, and I've adapted accordingly, but it's just one of those things where it's like, that doesn't seem right at all. I'm already fighting you. You don't get to wind up, run around me, and then call it another charge. But again, this isn't real life, so rules is rules.
Yep, and they just totally go Kamehameha on you.
I was gonna say, I saw a little mercenary chick fire some magic shot at a bomber yesterday and completely turn him incorporeal so that some psychopath could fire, what was it, 6-7 times at my caster?
Yeah, so this was our short game yesterday where you were playing Doom
Bottom
Shaper,
of 2.
right? Yeah, you were playing Doom Shaper. It was bottom of 2. He was, all up in my business, just jamming my zones like crazy. And I'm playing E-Kane, so everything's just rigged for shooting. This mercenary girl, she's Laylee's gun mage, Taran de la Revosi, and one of her magic ammo shots is Shadowfire, which if she hits something with it, it becomes, invisible for all intents and purposes. It no longer blocks line of sight. So Doomshaper's hiding behind his Warbeast. Terran walks up, Shadowfires the Warbeast to turn it invisible. Then, Epic Kane moseys over, and he's got 7 focus because he pulled 1 off Squire, didn't give any out, didn't upkeep anything, pops his feet, and just puts bullets in Doomshaper's head until he falls over. And, that was it. You learn new and astonishing things about the game every time you play, and some of it can seem very, very janky indeed.
Well, yeah, there are some mechanics that seem a little weird, but once they're explained, I completely understand them. I still have a hard time saying I'm targeting my own model when shooting at it. And same thing, like shooting at a model I know is out of range to try to get the deviation. It's interesting. It's an interesting mechanic. I don't necessarily understand it completely yet, but it's very interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break so that I can put on music that neither one of you will approve of, so it's works for me in all sense of the word. And when we come back, we will talk about your guys' game from yesterday, your 2 games. One of them was basically like a teenager having sex, and it was over very, very fast. And the second game was the same thing, I guess. So we'll talk about those really quick, and then talk about we were on a game show. Me and Bill were. So we'll talk about that and plug that when we come back.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere, friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow. I can be anything. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
And we're back, and I for sure that no matter what music I played, somebody's upset right now, and I don't care. So
I'm upset.
Jared Fogel's upset.
well, he's not going to hear this in the pen, so it's all good.
They might play it.
They might if they're playing our podcast for prisoners. I think that might be cruel and unusual punishment.
And besides,
Sounds
this
like
show is
America.
way too old for him. I mean, we are all well past our prime.
Well, speak for yourself, buddy.
I'm young at heart.
That's all that matters. So you guys got a game in yesterday, or 2 games, right?
2 games.
Yes.
Ooh. So who was playing what?
I was playing my Troll Bloods. I actually tried out Doom Shaper for 2 reasons. Number one, I've been toying with Doom Shaper ever since I looked at the Troll Bloods. He was originally the Warlock I was going to use, and then I saw Gunborn and fell deeply, passionately in love. But I wanted to take Doom Shaper out. I think it's just regular Doom Shaper because I really like the idea of his feat, although I've never actually used it, and that is actually John's fault. And I had my normal, well, not my normal stuff. I had an Earth Dire Troll, Earthborn Dire Troll. I had a Bomber, and that thing is incredibly impressive. An Impaler, Horgle with a Pyre and a Slag. I had some Creel Warriors with Banner and Bagpipes. I had some Stone Bears. I had Boom Howler and company, a full unit of those guys, because I wanted to try them out. And I can't think of anything else that I had in that unit or in that particular army. But yeah, I got to play that against John, and I'll let you tell John what you had.
Let's see. Well, I had Ekane as my caster and his little squire following him around. He has a defender, which is not really optimal because Kane is a tremendous focus hog, but it's like whatever, fuck it, and put magic bullet on it sometimes. And then I had let's see, Rangers, gun mages with the UA, marshaling Hunter. I had Trencher Commandos just because I like them. They have like grenades and are all, stabby and shit. Let's see, Ayana and Holt, the Black 13th, Eris 2, maybe there's some other shit, I don't really remember. But, that's the meat of the list, is just, a bunch of stuff that shoots and a lot of advanced deployment, and that's about it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of cool little fluffy things, but really what was important was Ekane. But I want to talk about real quick the best shot of the game, and I don't think John can argue this.
No, I can't.
His Hunter came up and tried to put a round into my Bomber, and he did, and he hit. And due to the dice gods not being pleased by this sacrilege shot, he only did 3 points of damage to the Bomber. So when it was my turn, I felt like my Bomber should get some revenge. And I'd never used the Bomber before, really, so I wanted to try him out. So I used the Impaler's Animus to give him Snipe, or Farsight, whatever you want to call it. And then I moved the Bomber up to within 12 inches of the Hunter. And I threw both of his bombs at the Hunter. And both of them hit, and by the time the dust settled, the Hunter was tiny, tiny bits all over the ground, leaving me and John both looking at it like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, I was, very much like, wow, that was unfortunate. Because But on the other hand, I was somewhat pleased. I got to put my little Jack Reich marker out for the first time in a long time, and that made me happy because I bought the fucking things. I like to use them every now and then, and yeah. So in strange ways, was a little sad that the Jack that is his sole purpose in life just got fucking wrecked.
Wrecked spectacularly. But I will also temper that with saying that was the only model in his army I killed. And John, while I'm in the corner crying, why don't you take it from here?
So he had basically run his entire army forward. You had like Boomhowler and shit over there on that other flank, and then your Creel warriors and stuff, and the commandos did a decent job of taking Boomhowler's unit down a little bit, and the Black 13th basically just absolutely murdered the Creel warriors because Ayana and Holt also, like kiss of death them, and that was sad. Although Holt missed like both of his shots into defense 12 Creel warriors, which was a little surprising, but oh well. Anyway, so he had advanced his battle group up, and he had well, this story has already been told, but Doomshaper was hiding behind the what was it? The Impaler and the Bomber, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And Miss Ravisi, like wandered up and shadowfired the Impaler and somehow managed to miss the Bomber with other shadowfire attack. But it didn't matter because it was enough to open up a hole in your battle line. And then Kane just walked up, popped his feet, and gunned Doomshaper down. Doomshaper had 2 Fury on him for transferring, but it didn't help because Kane is Rat 9, and I had run a Ranger up to within 5 inches. I mean, the Ranger was engaged with his front line, but it wasn't terribly important because it only needed to be within 5 inches of Doomshaper. And if a Ranger is within 5 inches of something, it's, he marks the target, basically, which gives anything shooting at that something +2 to its rat attacks. And so Kane was an effective rat 11, shooting at Doomshaper, who was only defense 13. And on Kane's feat turn, he gets a cumulative +1 damage bonus to all of his Spellstorm pistol attacks for each hit that he does. So base 12, first time he hits, goes to 13, and then jumps every time after that. He gets 2 free attacks because he has 2 Spellstorm pistols. They're rate of fire infinite. So with his 7 focus, because he pulled 1 off the Squire, he can make 7 more attacks, bringing his total damage value, if he, assuming he hits with all of them, up to 21. Is that right? 7? Yeah. 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 21.
Is that right?
Yeah. So, but around hit 4 or 5, Doomshaper was basically just down. And,
it took 6 shots.
It did take 6 shots because I had to spend 4 focus. And, but he took a tremendous amount of damage, and then just, it was just too much. You can't take that much. Poor Doomshaper. I mean, not really, because fuck him. He killed my hunter, but,
It was actually really stunning. I had moved my battle group up I had moved Doomshaper up as far as he was because I wanted to use his feat. And the only Kane that I know is the one whose feat is where he shoots everything in his control range once or whatever, the POW 14, and that's it. So when he moved up and he was like, okay, now that this guy's invisible and I can see you, I'm going to pop my feet. And I'm like, he's going to shoot me once? I don't understand. And then he was like, oh yeah, this guy shoots like 80 times, no problem. I'm like, this is a different Kane. And he goes, yeah, this is the next level. This is the next tier up one. I'm like, I didn't know what I was getting into. And John, real subdued, he's got the smirk on, but that's just, regular resting face for him. And he just starts rolling these dice. And I think he actually failed to wound on the first or second, or was really low, because his dice were definitely on my team yesterday. But yeah, that was incredible, because I knew I was in trouble when he disappeared one of my trolls that were acting as a wall for Doomshaper, but I didn't realize he was just going to win the game. It was as incredible as it was a kick in the stomach. I was like, wow, I had no idea he could do that.
Yeah, it's the usual situation that you fall into with playing Epic Kane because he really just kind of sucks at holding objectives, and doing the whole zone thing because he's got defense 17 and but he's only armor 13, so he can be killed pretty easily with blast damage and stuff like that, or like indirect methods of killing him that don't have to beat his defense. So, you know, and especially against things like trolls, you almost always end up just being like, well, it's turn 2. I guess I have to go for the assassination or lose now, and that's exactly how it went.
Yeah, like textbook. But I'm glad that we played the game simply because I learned that now. Now when I see that chick on the table or I see Kane on the table, I know my caster goes to the back left and I don't care if my troll's frenzy. Just stay the hell away from me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will not be making that mistake twice. Well, I probably will, but I will say right now I'm not going to make that mistake twice. And I will certainly add more shots towards that little mercenary chick with the shadow bolt thing or whatever she was, because I don't like her at all. She is definitely not getting an invite to my birthday party.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm actually very much looking forward to. One of the next, upcoming releases is Ace, which is Kane's signature jack, and Ace gets the rune shots as long as it's within Kane's control area, and one of the rune shots is Shadowfire, so it'll be another thing that I can Shadowfire stuff with, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, but the Ace is just a special hunter, and I've got 2 bombs with his name on it, so I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, this is true, but he's also got a 14-inch range, and I'm gonna try and keep him out of, bombing range. Although I didn't do that very well with the other hunter, so maybe not.
Well, now we can get into our second game if you'd like. And this one, I went back to Gunborn, and I had the list all set up because I really like Gunborn. I really like Dozer and Smig, and I had the bomber on there because I'm quickly falling in love with him, and I think I had an Impaler, and the rest of it was pretty much the same. I think I just dropped a couple of small things out of the list. I don't remember exactly what they were. But this game was another eye-opener. I really liked the Boom Howler and company guys. Their 4-up toughness was great. Unfortunately, I couldn't roll higher than a 2 that game, but that isn't actually what lost me the game. John, take it from here because nothing I really did was spectacular in this game.
Okay, so we were playing the... God, I can't remember. I think it's Incursion. No, it's not Incursion. Whatever. The scenario with the 2 big circle zones. And I was playing Striker 3 and running him with a Squire, Old Rowdy, because of course it's Striker, you take Old Rowdy, always, every time. And a Centurion, at a Junior Warcaster, Stormblade Captain, Anastasia Debray. I took Jake's, our named Junior Caster, and gave her a Hunter just because it was just like, well, it's something for her to do. And full unit of Stormguard and full unit of Stormblade Infantry with their UA and 2 of their weapon attachments. And basically the idea being that I was just going to try and make a mass charge and pop Striker's feet and just mutilate everything that was in the way. And the plan, I think, went pretty well. He was advancing his Creel Warriors up in front of his War Beasts so that he could jam the zone and try and jam some of my infantry. He had Boom Howler and company running up into the other zone so that they could, just kind of hold on to that. I got lucky because he made a line of sight problem with Boom Howler, and the Hunter was able to shoot him in the face, and that was nice because it meant no more fell calls for the company. And let's see. I guess he jammed my stuff. I killed some of his Creel Warriors, didn't kill others. And, like my beasts or my Warjacks towed into the zone, and his trolls just mutilated them. He destroyed Old Rowdy. He took everything but like 3 damage boxes off on the Centurion, which laughably enough was its shield, so it could still, polarity shield, and, like picked it up and threw it and used like all this horrible, awfulness. And the turn before, Anastasia Debray had ambushed off on, the table edge closest to his Warlock, and he ran something over to engage her, not realizing that she had parry. And so on my turn 3, Striker pops his feet. The Centurion limps out of the charge lane. And Strikers cast Fury on the Stormblade, so now they're power strength 18. They get the assault order, charge, and they murder both of his trolls in like 3 or 4 swings. And because they're power strength 18, essentially weapon masters, because it's Striker's feet, they hit automatically because they charged. And then the Storm Guard murder the rest of the Creel warriors and some of the Creel stone bearers. And Bill's just like, that's cool. I didn't expect that many losses, but it's still not, horrible awfulness and death. And then Anastasia Debray walks up, like basically right next to his Warcaster, and she's just like, espionage! And then all of the Stormblades and Stormguard get to go again, and they kill his junior Warcaster. So the Slag Troll and the Pirate Troll are just like, derp, and get to sit there. Then suddenly it's very terrible because Gunbjorn is just, he's got Stormguard and Stormblades, like, in his face. And Boomhowler and company are standing over there leaderless in the other zone. And, let's see, the Creelstone was down to like 1 guy, I think, maybe. But it was just a horribly devastating charge, followed by a horribly devastating espionage. And so, yeah, that was, I was exhilarated because I finally got to pull off, the Striker Tide of Death on the charge and an espionage in the same game. So I felt very satisfied with myself, perhaps even a little gleeful.
You were definitely doing the Devil May Care smirk. I will give you that. But I was like, I didn't know what espionage. I didn't know that was a thing. That hurts my feelings a lot. And then, of course, your Stormblade, Stormguard, everything has Pathfinder. Because I had put a wall up thinking, well, that'll stop those the Stormguard guys from charging me, so that'll be good. Oh yeah, as long as they're near the officer, or the officer is near them with his command 9 or 10, they have Pathfinder when they charge. I'm like, I'm gonna puke. It was just, no matter what I did, it was just playing into your hands. And it was espionage. It was like, at first, both my Dire Trolls just get melted. And I'm like, okay, well, I can still survive this. I should still be okay. And then, no, the guys got to go again because espionage, and she had parry. And it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, it was very, very brutal. He had thrown up the rock wall from Gunbjorn in front of my Stormguard, expecting that they wouldn't be able to charge over it, but I had my Stormblade Captain and my Stormblades, or my Stormblade, whatever, the Storm something Captain, and my Stormblades were partially in the forest, so, they charged first, and then the Stormblade Captain ran over to where the Stormguard were so that they could charge, because every Storm Knight unit in his command, which is 10 inches, gets Relentless Charge, which gives them Pathfinder while they charge. So they were just like, walls are no problem, and leapt over it doing, like flips and shit.
Yeah, which they didn't know 5 seconds before, but the officer ran over and was like, ninja knowledge! And they were like, we got it, boss! And then
He's very inspiring.
They melted everything. And my poor Creel warriors, they usually do so well, but I could not roll a 5 to save their lives. In fact, they all died. And then my Creel Stone guys, they all got melted in the end, but one I think I made 3 or 4 tough checks with, and so that was mildly disconcerting until he finally did go down. But that guy was a champion. My boom howlers. They probably were going to take down that hunter, but by the time you were done, I had an impaler who was engaged. I had Gunborn who was engaged. I had like one, maybe two models limping around somewhere going, Jesus, get us out of here. And the only thing I could think to do was hope for really, really high rolls and maybe assassinate Striker that round. It was really unlikely. I back Gunborn up, take the free strike, which you obligingly missed, which I appreciate. I fire my boosted shot at Striker and miss spectacularly. And at that point, I was like, well, the assassination's not going to work. I just backed Gunborn up. He's going to get charged and murdered next turn. Good game, brother. I need an ice cream.
I need an ice cream.
It was he might have had a chance, but Stryker had taken the opportunity to go toe into the wreckage left of Old Rowdy, and that gave him cover. So Stryker with cover is defense 19, and that was just too much for Gunbjorn to hit.
That's hilarious. So at least it sounds like a really good a good time. At least you guys had, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I enjoyed myself. I'm not certain if he enjoyed the experience.
I enjoyed the games very much because I needed to learn these lessons, and just like every other class I've had to take, I didn't enjoy it a ton. No, okay. I enjoyed our games very much. If I hadn't enjoyed our games, we wouldn't have played the second one. I'd have gone and done something else. But no, I had to assimilate a lot of new knowledge. No, I enjoyed our games very much. They were fun. And I also got to give Doomshaper a shot and got him shot in the face 6 times. So
6 times. It took 6 whole shots to kill him. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, he's a tough old bastard. And I didn't make my tough roll for either for Doomshaper either, which was sad. But still, damn good games, and I'm glad I played them, because now the next guy I play that has Signar and he tries that stuff, I'm just gonna shove it down his throat. Like, no.
You will be prepared.
I know what she does, so I'm going to bomb her with a tactical nuke, and then everyone else just, yeah.
So are you changed from Signar to Trollbloods? Are you enjoying Trollbloods a lot more now, or?
Yes, I'm having more fun with the Trollbloods than I ever did with Signar, and there's nothing wrong with Signar. Don't get me wrong. The Trollbloods just click in my head better. I like them better. I like their storyline. I like Gunbjorn a lot. Is really what does it for me. And Dozer and Smig, those two, they're just stupid. I really like them a lot. So no, I'm very much enjoying the Trollbloods a lot more than I like Signar, and that's just simply because I can play the Trollbloods the way I want to play them, whereas with Signar, I felt I couldn't play Signar the way I wanted to play them, and just going by my track record with Signar, that was proven again and again and again. So I think it was a good move.
Good. I'm glad you. I mean, I had a moment of weakness this weekend, and I was thinking about changing factions from my Menoth to something different, and I decided to gut it out and stick with it. So I'm going to stick with it, and the next time I see you both, I am going to kick your teeth in.
I look forward to the experience.
Afterwards, maybe we could play a game.
That's cold-blooded.
Puns and shit.
So now that we talked about your games, you and I, Bill, got to be on a YouTube game show this week, right? Was it this week?
It was last Friday. It was
last Friday. That's what it was. My days all run together. I swear to God. And it was kind of fun. And for those of you that still listen to us and still play Age of Sigmar or Warhammer, you should check out Vince Ventrilla's YouTube channel. I will post it in the show notes. We had a great time. Of course, we both lost. I think
Spoilers.
I won. Yeah, spoilers. We both lost. Spoiler. A lot of people have actually watched it. It's kind of crazy. I think he's up to like 500 and something views on it, which is a lot to me. I know some people are like, that's nothing, but that's a lot to me for
fucking peasant.
A YouTube. Yeah, I know, right? Shut up. I not everybody can burn their army and get a couple 100,000 views on that.
Hey, it came with death threats, so it was totally worth it.
You do have all of us beat with that.
That's John. I just posted it. John got more views in one video on my channel than I got with all my videos combined, and I
No, that's
didn't
not
even get
true.
to get
You have like
paid for it.
300,000 total views or something like
I
that. So it's only
round
like
up.
a third, you know.
Yeah, well, that's one video. If you burn 2 more armies, I think that you'll win, and that's just one more thing you beat me at, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Well, I don't have any more fantasy armies to burn because I sold the rest of them. So
40K?
sorry. No, I sold all of my 40k mini moons ago when I saw, the garbage that was coming out for 7th edition. Actually, it was before that, when those fucking, the knights dropped, and I was like, no, we have titans in the game, it's time to quit. And, yeah, I don't regret it.
I totally dig it.
Yeah, well, wait until Horus Heresy drops next year, and yeah.
Yeah, then they can fucking make a muck of that, too. Oh, God.
Hey, we do not talk about... Listen, from now on, GW is Lord Voldemort, and we will only say the game company that has no name from here on out.
Right, so I heard that the game company that has no name didn't pay its employees or something like that.
They are currently... I don't know if they currently are, but I have heard, and it has since on the interwebs been validated, that after they saw their profits after the AOS abortion, that they aren't paying their employees because they can't right now. And they brought in some guy named Kirby or whatever to try to figure out all this stuff and all this good stuff. So they're currently in damage control mode, crisis mode, DEFCON 1, whatever. And I think that it's beautiful to know that Karma is still out there and she cares.
See, if for those of you that aren't listening, there's a little... Bill drank a big, tall, huge, supersized version of Haterade today, and he's been holding this Haterade, and I love it. I love that about you, Bill. That you're holding that. Hold on to the anger.
It makes me
I don't know about
stronger.
you.
Gives me focus.
But Bill and I, we drink a bottle of Haterade every morning. It's like part of the morning diet, dude. It's just...
Yep.
It's life.
I could see that. I could see that. That's cool. So, before we go, is there anything else you guys want to add?
I am currently doing video battle reports instead of the normal slideshow ones. If you're familiar with my channel, that's great. By all means, let me know what you think. If you're not familiar with my channel, just search Lord Tremendous on YouTube and it will pop up. There's hundreds of videos. Most are slideshows. The newer ones are video. I'm still new with the video ones, so if you have any constructive criticism or absolutely cynical, evil comments, both are welcome. By all means, put them in the comment section so I can either make them bigger or you can possibly hurt my feelings. It would be amazing, but you could try. Stranger things have happened. Randy wins games. So by all means.
Oh, wow. Not very often. Recently, not very often at all. But
yeah, me either, brother. Me
hey,
either.
but listen, but in my defense, I suck. I suck at this game, as I'm finding out, and 2, I definitely cannot win with Thyra and Fiora 1. I gave it my all, and it's a rough go.
I think you'd probably do better with Fiora too. Honestly,
I think so too. I'll pick her up later.
I don't know. Things, parting notes, let's see. The Wu-Tang Clan still has not sold their $5 million album. Saw that on my newsfeed today. They made a one-of-a-kind, there's only one copy of the album or something. And
okay.
It's in a super fancy case, and it's under some very stringent copyright laws, and they're trying to sell it at auction. And the base cost is like $5 million, and then copyright sharing, yada yada. I don't know. 88 years from now, you can play it on the radio. So there's that.
Okay. Well, I guess my closing thought will be that I don't even know what to say about the Wu-Tang. The Wu-Tang Clan. The Asian persuasion, the Asian delegation gets the Wu and the Tang.
Yeah, just stop. Anyway, go on to the
closing. You didn't see that David Chappelle skit?
Did
where they do the race draft?
No.
Cocaine is a powerful drug.
No, they have that to do a race draft where I think white people officially get Tiger Woods. The black people officially get Tiger Woods. White people get Colin Powell, and Asians get the Wu-Tang Clan.
The whole thing?
Yeah, it's a funny skit. You look it up if you've never seen Dave Chappelle. That skit. Well, first of all, I don't know where you've been all your life, but you just YouTube it and watch all of his shows because they're hilarious. But that is not my parting comment. I was actually thinking about when I left Fantasy, the game that shall not be named. Ooh. But when I left because I didn't like the change, and I was going to go into War Machine, and people said I would hate War Machine because it's so competitive. It is so competitive, and I actually thought about that a lot today, and the last couple of days about were they right or they wrong? In War Machine, from my experience so far, and it's limited, of course. This is all very limited of what I'm going to say, but in War Machine, everything seems broken, and the community as a whole doesn't look down on people for bringing gross shit. It's kind of expected. Whereas when I played the other game, I was one of the people, I won't even hide it, that I thought that if you had to crutch onto a certain army, that you were just, I mean, there was douchebag, it was straight up, this is a douchebag list. And then if you're going to take it to a tournament, good luck, have fun, but that's absolutely zero fun. And because the balance was so off. So far in War Machine, I've played some pretty hard lists, and I haven't hated it. I was just like, oh crap, I now I know I need to be able to deal with this type of stuff running around, and at least my faction can deal with it, and I have things that people can't. You know what I mean? It's definitely a different game altogether, and I do actually like the competitive nature of War Machine that people thought I would not like based off of previous games. So yeah, that's my 1 cent because I don't have two.
Cool.
Yeah, whatever. Suck it, Trebek.
I'm down with it, man.
Yeah,
my elephant underwear. Right.
So we can't wait another month to do our podcast. We'll have to get back on our schedule. We do apologize, but I wanted to go down, and my wife and I went to see you guys and Bill's wife and hung out for the weekend. So that was pretty freaking epic. So we will try not to miss an episode again.
It's a good time. Yeah, it was just a series of very unfortunate events, so.
Yeah, it's all right. So anyway, we were going to be taking off. We will have another episode up in 2 weeks or so. Until then, when we come back, I'll tell you guys how badly or goodly, is goodly a word?
It is for this podcast, yes.
Good. How goodly I did. And I will link Bill's YouTube channel on the show notes. So definitely check that out. Check out Vince Vitrilla's show on YouTube. He has some really cool guests in the YouTube world jumping on every so often. And hopefully we'll see you guys at some tournaments in the upcoming months. But I can't promise anything because, let's face it, we're like punching redhead stepchildren right now.
Well, I mean, don't do it just because of redheaded. Just
no, that's more than enough justification.
Yeah, right. We don't want to give redheaded stepchildren bad names right now.
Beating up kids is a fight I can win, John. Don't take that from me.
Well, okay. I'll let you have it. Just make sure that you do it where the police don't find you.
All right, guys. We will see you all next time. I'm not even going to let Bill finish the statement because that's much funner. Take that from the game show.
O'Doyle rules!